Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'd like to welcome everybody, and I'd like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can learn a little bit more about the Bhagavad Gita, and especially the second chapter. And I'd like to welcome Puna Mataji and Shavi, of course, and everybody else here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So I wanted to ask, just as a little bit of revision, what two aspects of the second chapter did we discuss last week? Anybody like to have a go?
Kaushalya.
Kaushalya, yes, Kaushalya Maji.
Chapter 1 and chapter 12.
Oh, that's the
No.
memory. You're thinking about the memorizing the sloks.
Yes, that's right.
We are in a different satsang now.
Okay.
This is about what we did last Friday in the second chapter. Anybody remember? Okay, we have Shavi. She's got her hands up. Yes, go for it, Shavi.
We learned about the spirit soul.
Right, good. We talked about the spirit soul. That's good. Oh, is that
Lena.
no? This is
Oh, Sam's brother.
Sam's brother. Hare Krishna, George.
No, the other one.
Or is it Edward? No, maybe not. So anyway,
It is.
yes, about the soul. What else was there? What else did we discuss? Anybody remember? Yes, Tiana. I think
It's
you.
be muted.
Okay.
Were we talking about on chapter 2 how it describes all of the things that the Gita summarizes in chapter 2?
Just say that again.
All of the things that the Gita summarizes.
Yes, summary of Bhagavad Gita. Excellent. Does anybody remember the first part? What happened between Arjuna and Krishna? Anybody remember? Yes, Tiana?
Was it where Arjuna doesn't want to fight and then Krishna tells him that it doesn't matter because all of the people who he thinks are his family are just other material bodies?
Yeah, not too bad. Puna Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm completely blank out today.
Oh, okay. I think you have your hand up.
Yeah, it's just the sorry. It's just the extra stress of homeschooling and working from home, I guess.
Oh, I know. You do amazing, actually. I don't know how you do it. Sure. All I can say is I'm glad I'm not in your position. Okay, so
Kaushalya's got hand up.
Kaushalya, yes, Mataji. What happened right at the beginning of the chapter?
Yeah, he said he's not going to fight, Arjun said, but Krishna said, you are a soul, you are a spirit soul.
Yes.
You're not this body, therefore you should fight.
What I'm trying to get to, you're right. He did say, I'm not going to fight. But what did he say straight after that? I'm not going to fight, but...
Can't remember, Prabhu.
Anybody remember? Indulekha Maji?
Arjuna didn't want to fight and he said that he was confused. And then he recited the verse, Karpanya dosho.
That's it. That's the one.
And then he said, Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava prichami tvam dharma samuddhachete sishrasti yakshreya chitam bruhitanve sisyaste ham siddhimam tvam prapanyam. He said he doesn't want to fight. He lost all his abilities of fighting, and now he's confused and he's under Krishna's control, and he wanted Krishna to guide him.
Correct. He basically said to Krishna, I don't really know what to do, and please advise me. He surrendered to Krishna. And he accepted him as his spiritual master, his guru. So that's very, very important. That was the first lesson, if you remember, from.
So then Krishna decided to take the
Yeah.
the lead of the spiritual master, because they were like on friendly term all the time.
That's
Then Krishna decided to be the spiritual master,
Yeah.
and Arjuna the disciple.
So this is the first lesson of the first chapter, of the second chapter, if you remember. And I would always urge devotees, try to, we send the notes out. So try to read those notes and understand what actually is happening in the Bhagavad Gita. We'll give an overview, but also it's important to read after the event, just to let it sink in. So there were 4 or 5 different points in chapter 2. We covered 2 of them. One is Arjun surrendered unto Krishna. Second was exactly what Shavi said about the soul. Did she? Oh no, she said it's a summary. Was it? Who said about the soul? Who mentioned about the soul? Was that Shavi or?
I said, Prabhu.
Oh, was it you as well? Yes. Yeah. So he explains about who we actually are, because Arjun was so confused. But Krishna put him straight away on the spiritual platform. He took him from the bodily platform. I am this body. That's his, he was his thinking. But Krishna took him immediately from the bodily platform onto the spiritual platform, explaining to him that you are actually not the body, you are the spirit soul. And he said many, many verses on explaining that you are the eternal soul. Nobody can kill the soul. So you're thinking you're going to kill Bhishma, but actually you can't kill him because he is eternal, just like you are, just like I am. Are there any questions on that point? So that's the first 2 aspects of chapter 2. And I'm going to ask you that next week to make sure that you all remember. Oh, Hasi is saying you haven't received any notes. So if you send us your WhatsApp number through the chat, we can put you in a group where you will get the notes.
I've already sent my number to you. Sorry, Prabhuji. Namaste.
Namaste. Send it again. We might have missed it. But if you are on the online Vedic teachings group, then you would have received the notes.
Oh, I'm not. No.
Okay.
No.
So
Okay.
just send us your number again.
Okay. Thank you.
So now we're going to go into the third aspect of what Krishna has explained to Arjun. And I'm going to combine the 2. He's talking about karma yoga. The first 7 chapters, texts, he describes his immediate duty, swadharma, according to his body. And then, this is really important, we talk about nishkama karma, which is working without attachment in bhakti. So this is why this is a summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna starts with talking about this Atma, then he's talking about karma, then he's talking about karma yoga, and then he's also talking about bhakti yoga. So let's go to text number 31. Yeah, great. And what we'll do is we can, and anybody else who wants to join the online, please just send us your details and we'll put you in the group. Huh? So let's go to all the way down to 31. So Puna Mataji, and in terms of reading wise, we'd like to get different devotees to read, especially the young devotees, the English. So Shavi can start. She can do a few verses, 5 verses, and then we'll change it around. Okay, Punamasi, Mataji.
स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि धर्म्याद्धियुत्थात् श्रेयोऽन्त्यक्ष क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते. Should we read the translation, please?
considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
So, sorry, Mataji. So he's saying to Arjun, straight after he's told him about the soul and body, but remember, you're living in a body, he's saying, and you have a specific duty as a Kshatriya, a warrior. So for you, there's nothing better than fighting at this moment in time. Okay, sorry, Mataji.
यदृश्यया चोपापन्नं स्वर्गद्वारमपावृतं सुखिनः क्षत्रियः पार्थ लभन्ते युद्धमिदृशम्.
O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planet.
अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि.
If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य चाकीर्तिं रणादतिरिच्यते.
People will always speak of your infamy, and for the respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
भयाद्रणादुपरतं मन्स्यन्ते त्वां महारथः येषां च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्.
The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
Very good, very good.
अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहितः निन्दन्तस्त्व सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्.
Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you?
वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गं जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यमहिम् तस्माद् उत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः.
O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield, heavenly planets, or you will conquer the earthly kingdom. Therefore, give up determination and fight.
Excellent. So this is...
Maybe she had to read only 5, isn't it?
No, that's fine. That's fine. So up to 37, Krishna has described his duty as a Kshatriya. So that is his Swadharma, S-V-A, Swadharma. His immediate duties in the body that he is in. So he's saying you should fight, because if you don't fight, you lose your fame. And even if you do fight and you're killed, you know you're going to attain the heavenly planets. And of course, if you win, you're going to gain the earthly kingdom. So he's explaining his duties in accordance with his body. But now Krishna changes his tune a little bit. He's explaining about his Sanatan Dharma, duties of the soul. Very, very interesting how he changes tack. So have a look at this now. Krishnangi, would you like to read 5 of the verses?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So Puna Mataji, please carry on. No, she will read the Sanskrit first, Mataji, and then you can read the translation.
दुःखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभ जया जयौ ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि.
Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur sin.
So this is karma yoga. This is where, before he was saying you should fight, and if you fight, you'll win this, or you'll win this, or if you lose, you'll gain this anyway. Now Krishna is saying, actually, you should fight, but don't worry about winning or losing. So he's moved from just ordinary karma into karma yoga. Karma yoga means doing your act, but not worrying about the result. That's karma yoga.
एषा ते विहिता सांख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु बुद्धया युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि.
Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works.
नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्.
In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. And a little advancement on the path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
So this is very significant. Doing karma yoga alone, just that, can protect one from death, the greatest type of danger.
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिर्रेकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखा वन्दन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्.
Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched.
Very good.
यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं प्रवदन्त्य विपश्चितः वेदवादरतः पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः कामात्मानः स्वर्गपरा जन्म कर्म फलप्रदां क्रियाविशेषबहुलां भोगैश्वर्य गतिं प्रति.
Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this.
So again, Krishna now is warning Arjuna as well. Don't get too attached to the flowery words of the Vedas and start doing sacrifices for karma kanda, going to heaven. So he's taking him away from karma. Now he's also going to take him away from karma yoga. We'll see in a few minutes. So now, Tiana, you can read the English.
Yes, Prabhuji.
भोगेश्वर्य प्रसक्तानां तया परुतचेतसां व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न विधीयते.
In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who and who are bewildered by such things. The resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place.
Mm. Mm. See, now he's starting to hint about bhakti, starting to hint about buddhi yoga. That's why this is a summary of the whole Gita. Everything's in here.
त्रैगुण्य विषया वेदा निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थो निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्.
The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjun, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self.
Mm.
यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः.
All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them.
कर्मण्येवेधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूर्मा ते सङ्गोऽसत्त्वकर्मणि.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results in your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
Very important verse. He's saying you can do your duty, we can do whatever we are meant to do, the swadharma, but don't think the fruits are yours. They don't belong to you. And don't even think about not doing your duty. Never be attached to not doing your duty. You got to do your duty. You got to do your thing, and you got to be remembering me at the same time.
योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गत्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्धयोः समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते.
Perform your duty, equipoised, O Arjun, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga.
Well done. So, Sayan, can you do next?
दूरेण यव्वरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणः फलहेतवः.
O Dhananjana, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers.
So now Krishna is not going to mince his words. Keep horrible things away from you by doing buddhi yoga. And buddhi yoga is pretty much the same as bhakti yoga. And now he's going to stress it more and more. And we'll see the glory of bhakti yoga.
बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
A man engaged in devotional service fids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work.
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्तः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्.
By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead.
So he's putting it there straight to Arjun. Do bhakti yoga, even great sages and devotees have become free from the results of work in this material world by doing bhakti. They've come out of this world.
Yada te moha kalilam buddhirvyatitarishhyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha.
When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard.
Pratipanna te yada sthasyati nishchala samadhat vachala buddhis tada yogamavapsyasi.
When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness.
Brilliant. So this is the part about where Krishna describes karma yoga or bhakti yoga as well. Now let's just go into the summary. So from chapters text 31 to 53, very interesting part of the Gita. How does such knowledge, this knowledge of how to work, practically affect our day-to-day life in our world, right? We call it the real world, but of course, this world isn't so real. It is real, but it's temporary. That's why it's a little illusory. Although it is real, this world does exist, but it's temporary. It's not, it comes and it goes. It's not eternal. Krishna addresses this by explaining the two essential duties of the spirit soul. Dharma translates as duty. Of course, dharma is very difficult to translate, but you could say loosely it comes as duty. Dharma is something that's intrinsically attached to you. You can't get rid of it. Just like fire can not get rid of heat. If you have fire, you're going to have heat. It's two sides of the same coin, if you like. So we have a dharma, we have a duty, but it is actually referring to the intrinsic characteristics and qualities of something that cannot be avoided, neglected, or negated. There's two types of this dharma, right? Two types of dharma. The soul has a swadharma that's connected to the body, a worldly duty which consists of responsibilities towards family, friends, society, all connected to the body. We own a body. We have a body. We can't avoid swadharma because we're in this world with a body, but we can use this swadharma to come out of this world. How? Soul has a sanatan dharma. When we combine the two, swadharma and sanatan dharma, then we're going to be in sync with the spiritual world. The soul has a sanatan dharma, eternal spiritual duty, which comprises of one's relationship with God, nature, and all living entities, spirit, soul. So two duties, don't forget, swadharma, sanatan dharma. Swadharma relates to the body. What type of body you have to act accordingly. Sanatan dharma relates to the soul. One has to learn to execute both dharmas side by side. So you effectively working together. Swadharma and Sanatana Dharma come together and you serve in such a way where you satisfy both your Swadharma and your Sanatana Dharma. Many individuals neglect their Sanatana Dharma, becoming too preoccupied with their Swadharma. So some people who deny the existence of God, don't understand who they are. They're only working on the platform of swadharma, just connected with the body. But they're missing a very essential part of their dharma, their existence. On the other extreme, of course, there may be individuals who prematurely reject their swadharma. They go to the forest and falsely try to absorb themselves in Sanatana Dharma. That's what Arjuna wanted to do. He wanted to leave. And Krishna was indirectly telling him, yes, Arjuna, you want to go to the forest? But I'll be laughing at you because you will ask somebody for some food one time at the forest. They will say no. And you'll pick up your gandiva and you'll shoot them. Because you're a Kshatriya. That's your nature. You can't avoid your nature. So use your nature, use your swadharma to fulfill your Sanatana Dharma. Use your Kshatriya nature to fulfill your duty to protect society and to serve me. That's the key, to serve him through his swadharma. If we can serve Krishna through our work, through our dharma, then we are combining swadharma with Sanatana Dharma. That's perfect. Oh, can't see that. The most progressive path. Let me just see if I can sort that out. Okay. No, it's not. It's just going to be here. Anyway, I'm going to read it out. The most progressive path is to be fully alert to both duties, and in doing so, lead a happy and balanced material and spiritual life. So this is the key. We want a balanced life where we do our duties according to the bodies that we have and the responsibilities that come with the bodies, but at the same time, we remember Krishna, we engage in bhakti, we do as much as we can, we chant Krishna's names on beads, we try to do arti, we offer our food to Krishna, we do as much as we possibly can, but at the same time, we've got our specific duties, our jobs, our families, got to look after both. And somehow we marry the two together. That is up to each and every individual, how you marry the two together so that your Swadharma and your Sanatana Dharma go hand in hand, beautifully go hand in hand. And then it's very natural. It's not that you're chanting, you're doing the bhakti, you're reading, but it's completely separate from your Swadharma. It may well be, because you can't help that. But if you can combine the two, then it just makes it a much more natural inclination towards bhakti. So before we go into questions, let's go into the next section of the Gita. And the next section, before we do that, let's just explain what the next section is first. The next section is where Krishna talks about, there you go. Sthit Pragya. Now, Krishna has explained to Arjuna about bhakti and somebody who follows the path of bhakti. So now Arjuna wants to know, what is that person like who follows the path of bhakti? Very, very intelligent question. And Krishna answers it with 18 verses. So hear attentively, if you can, what his answers are. Very fundamental points in this section of the Gita. So who's going to read now? Can we have some volunteers? The young devotees have read. Maybe some of the not so younger. Any volunteers to read the English?
I'll read Prabhuji Hare.
Okay. If anybody else does want to, just raise your hand on the electronic thing, you know. Thank you, Arvind. So, Mataji, you can start.
Yeah. Arjuna Vacha Sthita Pragyasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya Keshava स्थितधिः किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्.
Arjun said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak, and what is his language? How does he sit, and how does he walk?
भगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Parth, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness.
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्मनः सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वितरागभयक्रोधः स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते.
One who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries or related when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear and anger, is called the sage of steady mind.
यः सर्वत्रान्भिस्नेहस्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम् नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge.
यदा संहरते चायं कर्मोऽङ्गानिव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness.
This is a really nice example Krishna is giving. The senses can be quite aggressive. They can take our mind consciousness completely away from Krishna. But he's giving the example of the tortoise. When the tortoise is attacked, he withdraws his limbs within his shell and he remains in safe. So we also sometimes may need to withdraw the senses from the objects of the senses so that we can stay in our pure consciousness.
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते.
Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains, but ceasing such engagement by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness.
यततोऽपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्वितः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः.
The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjun, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them.
तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसित मत्परः वशे हि यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence.
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषुपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते.
While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises.
So this is a really important word. We're going to look at that in some detail. This is the parampara of getting engaged in sinful activities. And Krishna gives us a good hint how to avoid falling into this trap. So the next 5 verses, Indulekha, Mataji can read, and then the 5 after that, Kaushalya can read.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिर्भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति.
From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool.
रागद्वेष विमुक्तेस्तु विषयानिन्द्रियेश्वरन् आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा प्रसादं दिगच्छति.
But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord.
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्नचेतसो राशु बुद्धिपर्यवतिष्ठते.
For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established.
नास्ति बुद्धिर्युक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभावयतः शान्तस्य कुतः सुखम् अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्.
One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace?
इन्द्रियाणां हि चरतां यन्मनोनुविधीयते तदस्य हरति प्रज्ञां वायुर्नावमिवाम्भसि.
As a strong wind sweeps away both on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence.
This is a really incredible verse. Krishna is explaining even one of the senses, the sight or the nose or the tongue, if the mind focuses on that, can take away the man's intelligence, even just one of the senses. So we've got to be so careful. Krishna is giving us so many wonderful hints here. So now, Kaushalya, I think, yeah, okay, good.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
तस्माद्यस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
Therefore, O mighty armed, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence.
या निशा सर्वभूतानां तस्यां जागर्ति संयमी यस्यां जागृति भूतानि सा निशा पश्यतो मुनेः.
What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage.
Introspective sage, yeah.
Sage, yes.
आपूर्यमाणमचलप्रतिष्ठं समुद्रमापः प्रविशन्ति तद्वत् कामायं प्रविशन्ति सर्वे स शान्तिमाप्नोति न कामकामी.
A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires.
Another wonderful example given by Krishna. We have so many desires in our hearts and minds. I want this, I want to eat that, I want to buy this, I want to watch this. And Krishna explains that all these desires, if we try to satisfy them, we're not going to be happy. But if, like a river, like an ocean, does not fill up when all the rivers go into it. Similarly, if we can somehow contain this incessant flow of desires, just like a person who can, just like a river goes into the ocean, stay steady, then we'll attain some peace. Otherwise, there's no peace. We'll always be hankering for something. And the problem is we don't get it. And then we get angry and frustrated.
विहाय कामान् यः सर्वान् पुमाश्चरति निःस्पृहः निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः स शान्तिमधिगच्छति.
A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace.
एषा ब्राह्मी स्थितिः पार्थ नैनां प्राप्य विमुच्यते स्थित्वा स्यामन्तकालेऽपि ब्रह्मनिर्वाणमृच्छति.
That is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God.
Jai, chapter 2 ki Jai. Thank you very
Jai, Hare
much.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Indulekha. Thank you, Arvind. Thank you, the children. And especially thanks to
But
Punna.
Prabhuji, can I just conclude?
Oh, yes, please. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Sorry.
Good, very good.
श्रीमद् भागवत गीतायां ब्रह्म विद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्री कृष्णार्जुन संवादे. It's Sankhya Yoga, right? This one, the chapter is?
I think it is, yes. That's
Yeah.
what the official
Yeah.
name.
Sankhya Yoga namak dvitiya adhyaya. Shri Krishna arpanamastu.
Jai. And I'd like to congratulate Punna Mataji. And it's very nice if we can also, whilst Mataji is reciting the Sanskrit, to try to recite it with her, because her pronunciation is so good, so nice, and so accurate. This will actually help us in time. Through practice, we'll get used to the Sanskrit slokas. So I'd like to thank you, Mataji. You do it so nicely, and you do it at a very good pace. So thank you so, so much. Really amazing.
For giving me this opportunity, Prabhuji.
You're really adding so much value to what we do. So thank you again. Very, very nice. So just a quick summary of this part of the Bhagavad Gita, and then we can go to questions. So from 54 until 72, Arjuna asks Krishna, because Krishna is describing about that person who's doing bhakti. So Arjuna is very inquisitive. So how does he sit? That means, how does he restrain his senses? How does he walk? How does he use his senses? How does he talk? How does he respond in provocative situations, right? We get this all the time. Somebody provokes us and we fight back, we shout back. So how does this person react? This person that you're saying is a bhakti yogi or buddhi yogi. So the profile of the person who has performed both the duties perfectly is described by the Lord. So this is where the person has done his swadharma. He's also fulfilled his sanatan dharma. So Krishna is explaining, what does this person look like, feel like? What does he do? Such a person is Atma Rama. He's spiritually realized who finds pleasure in the self. Atma Rama means self-satisfied. Krishna is Atma Rama, self-satisfied. He doesn't need anybody. He doesn't require another to give him pleasure. He's within, he's full of pleasure. And that person who follows Krishna, because he's surrendered to Krishna, he's also happy in himself because he's constantly devoted to Krishna, to the Supreme Lord. It's not that he's happy because he's not devoted to God. This is the link. The link is that one has to be connected to God in order to be self-satisfied. That's very important. Many people try to become self-satisfied without God, but that's just not possible because we are connected to God intrinsically through Sanatana Dharma. And when we try to avoid that connection, we end up in this world, in this material world, and we end up in our situation, which is mostly distressful, a little bit of happiness, but mostly distress. Krishna explains how the Atma Rama is unaffected by happiness or distress, loss or gain, honor or dishonor. So whether he sometimes becomes famous, doesn't matter. Sometimes becomes infamous, doesn't matter. Sometimes he loses everything he has, doesn't matter. Sometimes he gains so much, still doesn't matter. He remains steady and fixed in every situation. He's transcending the dualities of this world. Such a spiritualist rids himself of the qualities such as fear, attachment, and anger, and remains absorbed in spiritual delight and transcendental consciousness. So Krishna gave a very strong hint in verses 62 and 63, how to do this, how to get onto this level. Because what he's explaining is, he's explaining the parampara, the process of spiritual fall down, how we can fall in this world, not become Atma Rama. First thing he says in verse 62, Dhyayato Visaya Punsa, simply by looking at something, the senses objects. Let's take an example of a car, contemplating, thinking, looking. Let's take the example of a Porsche, for example. Somebody who likes cars, they start thinking about the Porsche, they see the Porsche with the senses, they hear the Porsche, it starts up, oh, sounds good. They slowly develop attachment for that object. Now, what usually happens most of the time, we get attached to something, but we can't have it, right? But we lust for it. So the attachment leads to lust and desires, that's right. I want that. So from attachment, we go into, I really have to have that. So this is the thinking, feeling, and willing aspect of our consciousness. Now, what happens to lust is usually not satisfied. And when we're not satisfied, we become angry. Why can't I have this? I want this. My dear Lord, why are you stopping me from enjoying my senses? Right? Or we blame the parents, or we blame our teachers or our employers. There's always somebody else to blame. Why we are not happy, why we can't have what we want. Leads to anger. And then that anger makes us delusion, puts us in delusion. We forget when we're angry. How many times has this happened to us? When we're angry, we say things which we don't mean, but the words have come out. You can't take them back. That's delusion. That's delusion. The anger gets the better of us and we fall into delusion. And then afterwards we regret it. We're bewildered. Why did I get angry? I was so stupid. But then we've lost our intelligence. And again, we've fallen down into this gross material existence. So the idea is not going down this path. How do we stop going down this path? Nip it in the bud, as he says. If we are able to restrain the senses by nipping it in the bud, then we will save ourselves a great deal of grief and anguish, and will, with the blessings of Guru and Gauranga, be on the way to become self-satisfied in Krishna consciousness, even whilst living in this crazy material world. So as soon as we see something like this Porsche that we think we like, we have to gather our intelligence and say to the mind and to the senses that no, we don't need this. This is something that will hamper us in our progress, both materially and spiritually. So just forget it. That's called nipping it in the bud. So anything that you may have an example now of something you think, I really need this. But when you think about it again and again, that we don't actually need it. So we say to the mind through the intelligence that no, that's not going to work for me. I don't need this. I don't want it. And I'm going to nip it in the bud. This is a really great lesson, especially for youngsters, especially for science, 16-year-old. You're at that age, the youth, the teenager, and so many desires, so many things will come into your mind. It's happened to all of us. We were at one stage, at your stage. And unfortunately, in our case, we didn't have this teaching that was given to us to control the senses. If you control your senses at a young age, it becomes a lot easier later on in your life. So put that into practice early in your life. Tiana and Krishna Nangi, you were very fortunate. You probably, at the age of 11, you're not developed these, the thirst for sense gratification or enjoyment. So right from the beginning, learn to control your senses. Control your senses, so that you don't fall into that trap that Krishna is explaining. Contemplate the senses, and then you develop attachment for the senses. When you got attachment, you get lust for it, but you can't have it, so you get angry, then you get frustrated, then you get, what was the other thing? Delusioned, and then you get bewildered. And before you know it, lost the intelligence and you again back into gross Maya. So protect yourselves from a young age. You have very intelligent parents. They will guide you. I wanted to conclude the chapter 2 there and take questions if there are any questions. Everybody happy?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Great knowledge. Good explanation.
Thank
And,
you.
our youngsters will learn a lot from all this that you are sharing.
You'd like to share something, Maji?
No, Prabhuji, I was just saying that our youngsters will learn a lot from your sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Arvind, what do you think?
Very informative as ever, Prabhuji. Very well organized, and yeah. Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Okay. It's important, some very important lessons especially for the children. And if it's imbibed into them from a young age, they will be very fortunate souls. because we never had this training. And
I think it's very important. They enjoy joining your class because it's very easily explained, so it's easy for them to understand the teaching.
thank you so much. Puna Mataji, you don't have a question?
Just thinking.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking seriously. You caught me there. I'm just sort of wondering on this verse 43 again, 42, 43, and again in 53, when it is said, Lord Krishna tries to say by the flowery language of the Vedas. So,
Right.
So I was just trying to read the purports and, just trying to understand what exactly are they trying to convey when they say flowery language of the Vedas, or even Karmakand you mentioned, but you didn't go into it. So if you could explain, I'll be, more than happy to be enlightened or by another view, because there is a different aspect that each one of us would be aware of.
That's right. Karmakand is, and the Vedas, the flowery words of the language, Vedas is the same thing. It's basically where the Vedas promotes elevation to heavenly planets or elevation within even one's material life by doing some sacrifice to the devatas. And what Krishna is explaining to Arjuna is he's actually in one go dealt with 3/4 of the Vedas, because 3/4 of the Vedas is for everybody. It's for those who believe in God. It's those who don't believe in God, those who have some faith, some who have little faith. So the Vedas is very wide. It caters for everyone. And if somebody is not got any faith, what the Vedas will do is it will enhance your faith wherever it is. So if you don't have faith in Krishna, and if you have faith in Indra, the Vedas will say, okay, worship Indra and do the karma kanda activities, do the sacrifices to satisfy, do the puja to satisfy the devatas. And in that way, you will gain the flowery words are, you will gain so much. You will gain a nice wife, you will gain a nice car, you will, after your death, you will go to the heavens and you will enjoy for thousands of years. But Krishna is saying to Arjun, don't get fooled by that. Because even going to heaven, in this world, you're not going to go to the spiritual world. One day you're in heaven and you'll enjoy there for thousands of years. But when your karma is finished, you're back down to earth again. Birth, death, old age, and disease. You can't escape it. So avoid the flowery words of the Vedas. They're there to help those who have no faith gain some faith. At least you got some faith in the devatas, something better than nothing. And then eventually, hopefully, that faith in the devatas will become purified through the association of devotees of Krishna or Vishnu. And then your bhakti, that will be transferred from the devatas to the Supreme Personality of God. Then you'll become eligible to enter the spiritual kingdom. So that's what it's trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when Nand Maharaj they were doing the puja for Indra.
Good.
Instead of to Govardhan, because it's something that they've always been doing, because how they've been taught. They thought Indra was the one who's giving them the rain, and then Krishna said the rain's also falling in the oceans. The oceans are not worshipping Indra, so you don't have to do that. You have to worship what is really important, and Govardhan is because it gives you so much. So that's I think that's what it means as well. Flowery words of the Vedas, because it's in the Vedas. If you worship Indra, then you'll get the rains. But because they don't understand what sometimes why you're doing all these things. You just do it because it's like the parampara. You've always been doing it. The family's always been doing it. But yeah, Krishna teaches us that there's another aspect as well you need to look at.
he's basically saying, he's taking Arjun. This is why Bhagavad Gita is such an important scripture. It takes you away from any material opulence, any material, being sidetracked by material enjoyment. He takes him straight onto the spiritual path. Not that the beauty of avoiding material enjoyment is you get into spiritual enjoyment, which is everlasting. And you can only understand that when you avoid this desire to get materially improved in this world. As long as that concept is there, I want a better job, I want a better family, or nice family, I want more possessions, we'll never be able to understand this spiritual enjoyment, because we'll always be looking at material enjoyment. And that's what the Vedas promotes. To a degree, to quite a big degree.
Yeah, and it's also said that the acharyas also say that if you do want something material, just go to Krishna, and if it's beneficial for you, he will give it to you. Don't go to the demigods, because the demigods get it from they get all their energy and everything, or their bhakti is given to you, because they do the bhakti to Krishna, and so it's that that you get the benefit of. So why don't you just go straight to Krishna, bypass the demigods? If you want something, go to Krishna and he'll give it to you if it's beneficial for you.
Does that help, Purnamataji?
Yes, sure, Prabhuji. I've got 2 points again.
Yes,
So
yes.
somewhere in the same chapter, we read about, balancing material life and, spiritual life again. So again, that is one point. It is again contradicting to the one, I mean, I haven't read all the Vedas, but I come from a family, which does a lot of karma kand. So well, I understand the point, that many a times people have, people do puja or worship, put it in a very simplistic form. People do worship, or, big pujas or big havans or yajnas, sometimes for the good of the people. I mean, I've seen those kind of yajnas as well, when they are done for, well-being, general well-being of everyone. And of course, for personal goals as well, personal uh, materialistic, or yeah, they are called materialistic goals, whatever comes in that. So I have seen that, but the point that I'm trying to make here is, um, it has never come across, though, as that is the only way of attaining material life or material happiness. It is one way of achieving, the higher self, the high, basically God realization. So again, karma kanda, puja, vidhi is not everybody's cup of tea, and getting associated, with those rituals is even more difficult, you know because these kind of knowledge has been passed from generations to generations, and sometimes somewhere, unfortunately, the meanings of doing a particular act are lost. So I wouldn't say that they would definitely uh, enthuse a person, or a youngster. Oh, why do I have to do this, mommy? Or why do I have to? There will always be those kind of questions. So these were my 2 observations. Like, again, Krishna says that there should be a balance between material life and spiritual life. You should attain that. And then again, we are saying that we shouldn't follow. Okay, but when I read the purport, and when they talk about the somaras and all, um, uh, well, I have never heard of them. Yeah, in my such little life that I've lived so far, in terms of the what we can say, teachings of the Vedas, because I had a very very what we can say, close association or an environment surrounded by Vedas and chanting and shastrarth and So whatever I've heard, not exactly read or anything, but just whatever I've heard.
Yeah, this Somaras is basically, it is in the Vedas, and it's something that the Karma Kand path of Vedas says that that's the nectar you will obtain in the heavens. It's not available here, it's in the heavens. So it's
Yes,
something.
I'll trust it. I'll trust this book, and I'll I'll take it as one of the learnings of the Vedas.
Right.
Yes.
So in terms of the contradiction between what Krishna is saying and in terms of doing your duty, but at the same time being God conscious, it can be a contradiction if one looks at it in isolation. But the way Krishna is explaining it to Arjuna is that, yes, your duty is there for you to perform. You can't run away from it. You can't avoid it. And that's a lesson for us as well. We can't go to the forest artificially or go to the temple and stay there forever, because it's not in our nature. Our nature is to follow our dharma. And whatever that is, whatever your nature is, your dharma is that. So, but what Krishna is explaining is, you do your dharma, you do, even if it's karma kanda dharma, even if it's according to the Brahminical principles, you do that, but you just don't be attached to the fruits and the results. That's karma yoga. But then he goes a little further and he says, not just don't be attached, but offer that to me. Whatever fruits you're getting, even if you're doing karma kanda, you offer it to me. And that becomes buddhi yoga. But then he goes even further than that. He goes, in fact, you should avoid all of those things and simply focus on me. Do your duty and think of me. That's bhakti yoga. That's the highest platform. So we all at different stages, and whichever stage one is at, what Bhagavad Gita does is it just takes you to the next level. Like we saw in the chapter 12, Krishna said, Manmana Bhava. Oh no, that's not that one. Mayi eva sha mano yamam nitya nivesya. Oh, I've forgotten the verse now. But he's basically saying, fix your mind on me and your intelligence on me, and you'll always be with me. But if you can't do that, then follow the regulatory principles of bhakti. Do the chanting, Hare Krishna. If you can't do that, work for me. If you can't work for me, then offer your results to me. If you can't offer your results to me, then meditate upon me. Oh, you can't even do that? Then just read Bhagavad Gita, God's sake.
Get some knowledge.
Mayi vamana, that's what mayi buddhi niveshaya.
Yes.
Mayi buddhi niveshaya. Thank you
Yes.
so much. You're really good. Of course. Yeah, of course. So Krishna is being very, very flexible. And I think we have to understand that if we do karma kanda, and what do you understand by karma kanda? What does that mean to you?
Karma kand to me means as if I say in Hindi or Gujarati, it's puja vidhi.
Huh?
The puja that we do, or if we say it in English, it would be the rituals that we do, the worshipping rituals.
Mhm.
We do arati first. We wash our hands after we have, I mean, I don't know how many of you are Gujarati here, but at least me and I and Prabhuji are. So, apne arti vandaviye, we offer it to God. And after that, we have to wash our hands, because we say that, our hands have become uchishta. Uchishta is a word which means, when I'm eating something and somebody takes from my plate,
Yeah.
so we are not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
It becomes uchishta. So
Yeah.
we call it as etu. In Gujarati, we call it as etu.
Yeah.
So, there
Yeah.
would be some drops of saliva on that.
Yeah.
So basically what we are trying to do is when we are offering it to the God, we are also trying, to wash our hands because we've offered it to them. So why we are doing those things? So karma kand basically is puja vidhi, the entire puja vidhi that we do, and there is a different puja vidhi for, depending on the occasion, depending on the deity. Sometimes in general, if we say Shodasho Karma Puja Prakash, so there are 16 steps of doing Pujan Vidhi.
That's
So
right.
they are general for whether it is Shiva, Krishna,
That's
Ganpati,
That's correct.
They are similar, but obviously, there are more advanced, things. So that is when it's a karma kand, that is my understanding of,
But
doing.
what is the intention of the puja? What is the reasoning behind the puja? What are you aiming for?
Uh,
in Karma Kanda?
yeah. So that is what I said, that people do perform, even puja, even yagya, for materialistic desires, to
Right,
fulfill materialistic desires. It
right.
is there, but at the same time, when we do it, day in and day out, obviously there would be materialistic desire, but there would be times when we would be doing it just,
For the pleasure of
out
the
of habit
of
or out of our faith.
uh,
um,
okay.
and it would be, a desireless activity.
Okay.
um,
Yes.
so
It's
uh,
desireless, but not necessarily the desire to please the deity.
most of the times it is there. It is, or in some cultures, I mean, I have never faced it, but in some cultures it was like to avoid the wrath of God. I
Indra.
mean, it never has occurred upon me, but I have heard people say that. I mean, and
Yes,
I,
that's right.
contradict that God is not, you know,
Angry man.
um, and it hardly matters to him whether you do that or not.
Yeah.
uh, it's for your good. You're doing it. If you're doing it for your
Yeah.
peace of mind, or your whatever it is. It's for yourself. It's going to help you. And God is not hungry for such things. What he is hungry for is the real faith and the real feelings that you have for him.
That's it. Very good. Very, very good. So this is the whole point. Karma Kanda is you either asking for something material, or you want to please a devata because he's going to get upset. Well, that's why Krishna is saying, ignore that part of the Vedas. Firstly, you are praying for material things. It's going to come anyway. It's going to come anyway. Your karma, you're going to get the benefit of whatever you've done in the past. So don't worry about it. And in terms of pleasing or making somebody angry, like the devatas, that's exactly what Jayanti was saying about Indra. They were trying to please Indra because otherwise he would get angry. And Krishna said, what sort of God gets angry? There is no God. Krishna became an atheist at that time. He said, don't worry about karma. Don't worry about God. Karma, you get whatever you deserve. No problem. There is no God. This is Krishna. He's so convincing. He'll convince the Brijbasis there is no God. But then, of course, we saw Indra got angry and he decimated Vrindavan with the rains. So what sort of God is that? That if you don't worship me, I get angry. That's not Krishna. Krishna is like our loving father. If we don't worship him, he's going to have tears. And he's got so many tears because we're not looking towards him. And he's trying to find any excuse to get us close to him. Any excuse. Agasura, the snake demon, simply had one little desire for half a millisecond. He was thinking when the cowherd boys came into the cave and he killed them with his poisonous vapor, he just for one moment, he thought, how happy these cowherd boys look. How happy they look. I wonder what it's like to be with Krishna. That was it. Krishna killed him, but Krishna liberated him into the spiritual world as a cowherd boy because he had that one desire for half a millisecond. So Krishna is looking for some excuse to take us to a spiritual world. The devatas are looking for some excuse to slap us. So who do you go for? You go for Krishna every time.
I also wanted to make one more point. It's basically, to just reinforce that the context in which this is spoken, it is spoken in a battlefield.
Hmm.
And second, it is it is being said to a person who is completely given up, and
Yes,
he's just sat on the grounds that I'm not going to do whatever you say. I'm not lifting my weapons.
yes.
And for him, to make him get up and do his swadharma, Krishna would have to come up with really, really strong arguments.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
Arjun is, I mean, he is himself a very learned man, and he's not going to pick up his Gandiva and, do his Swadharma. So I think that is another third point, which I would like to say that.
I like it. That's really good realization. Very good point. And we're at that stage, like in this world, we are pretty defeated. I mean, now even more than normal with this virus hanging around that seems to be all pervading, just like God. So he spoke it for us. And everybody in their life, at least at some point in their life, they'll come to the stage where, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do now. Where do I go? I need help. That's when the Bhagavad Gita really kicks in. That's when the teachings, like you said, Arjun, exactly what he needed, Krishna gave him. But this Bhagavad Gita is not for Arjun. It's his letter, it's his song to us. And if we get it at the right stage in our life, we're in the right mood, then we are on the path. It'll make so much sense. But I would urge everybody to, even you may not be at that stage at this moment in time, get there, get into the Gita, and really try to understand the message of Krishna to Arjun. Sometimes it only kicks in when you're in a really desperate condition, like as you said. You've actually summarized it very well, Mataji. Very, very good. That he was in such a position where he could take the Gita from Krishna. Are we ready to take the Gita from Krishna? Let's make ourselves ready. Not that we come to a situation where we're so desperate, we have to take the Gita. No, let's take it voluntarily now. That'll make it. It's the Indian Army saying, I love this, you sweat in peace and then you bleed less in war. Sweat now. Sweat now to understand the Gita and live the Gita. When the war comes, we'll bleed less. Thank you so much. Oh, Bhavnabin?
Huh? Hello. Jai Shri Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Like you said, we have been showed the path by Krishna. Otherwise, we would be joining, or we would have not met you and all these lovely people.
Yes.
So he showed us the way, and I believe that.
Yes, he showed you the way. Yes.
Yeah.
At the right time.
Yeah.
Thank you for
It
that.
was nice discussion, Prabhuji and Puna Didi, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Bhavnabin. And you're amazing. And thank you, Punna Mataji.
Yeah, Puna Didi as well. Thank you.
Very, very nice.
Bhavnabin, mane Purna keso to chalse. I'll be happy. You can call me
Are
Purna.
you doing the Bhagavad Gita reciting? We have to give you the
You're
respect.
like a guru. Yeah, you're like a guru, Mataji.
Yeah.
All Lord Krishna is our guru. I'm the nimitta matra. But I'm the mode of delivery.
Yes.
Prabhuji,
Exactly right.
Mataji, we're going to go through Krishna.
Yeah, good delivery. Oh, Krishna Nangi?
Yes, Prabhuji.
You wanted to say something?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. Madhusudan Prabhu?
It's amusing his fun. I wanted to earlier read, but it's okay. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Hare Krishna. Yes, I would like to add something. So this all the chapters are very important, but for me, I find this chapter 2 very important, most important, because when I start telling anybody about Bhagavad Gita, I use this verse 23.
Yes.
That is where I start.
Yes.
Where he said, Nainam Chindanti Sastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavaka, Na Chainam Kvidanti Apuna Susati Marta. So we are not this body, and this soul. It cannot be cut into pieces by any weapon, cannot be burned by fire, no moistened by water or withered by the wind. So this one, when I start with this verse, and I'm sure to convince someone about who they are actually and what is their goal of life. For me, I started from there, and for me, I think chapter 2 is most important.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything like to say? Is that Kamlesh Patel?
Hi, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Is this the
Hare
first time
Krishna.
you're joining? Hare Krishna.
My first time I'm joining, yes.
Very good.
Thanks to Arvind, who has shown me the path, and
Arvind
I'm now.
a special personality. It's
I'm
really good. Thank you so much, Arvind. And you're also in Kent? I think we lost him. No, internet, yeah, internet. Okay. Oh, they have lost us. Are we still here?
Hi, can you hear me?
I think maybe our connection is not so good.
It's our connections are unstable.
Hear you?
Yeah, I've added you to the group anyway, so you'll get the notes, Cap.
Thank you very much. I've received that, so thank you very much.
Good.
Okay, everybody. Look forward to seeing. So tomorrow we have Children's Sangha. So if anybody is interested, please do join. Especially Krishnangi.
Or the afternoon session.
Or the afternoon session at 3:30. You're welcome to join. And then we are going to have Ekadashi Katha as well at.
Tomorrow is Ekadashi.
What time is Ekadashi Katha? 7:30.
No,
yeah.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. So it's a packed day of Krishna conscious activities. Thank you so much. It's so nice.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Kam. Thank you, Purnamataji. Thank you,
Very much. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Aruna, thank you so much. Aruna.
Hanji.
So these sessions you're finding useful?
Yes.
Well? Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Because the second.
I think she should get herself out and read English translation as well.
Yeah.
Then it will make her feel more
involved. Yes.
Yeah.
And Aruna, you've also been through the first session of the Gita with us.
Yeah. I missed it last week.
No, the Gita. Last week. Yeah, but
last Friday, no. Maru mistake you to
But did you join the first session?
Yeah.
Like
the afternoon session
in the summer.
In summer, yeah.
Before the Bhagavad.
Good.
Oh,
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is good.
That's when her journey started, Prabhuji. That's when she
COVID month.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first summer.
Yes, that's right. I remember now. Very nice. Thank you for joining us. It's very, very good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Aruna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji is really nice. Purnima Didi explained.
Hare Krishna.
Everything.
Yes. No, thank you.
She should do every time. So it's more understanding how to understand the Gita as well.
Yeah, no, it's very good. She recites every time. Every time.
Yeah, it's good. But look at last session. I missed it last Friday because I'm not feeling good.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's
it's
fine.
really, it's nice.
Next time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Purnima Didi. Thank you.